All right, it's time for a Halloween special live stream. This is the No Politics Zone. I dress for Halloween every single day. This is the one day of the year on which I look semi-normal, so I don't bother to dress up because, what's the point? I wanted a tricorn hat because a subscriber gave me this one. It looks kind of like a pirate cloak, right? I figured if I had the tricorn hat and I could have that cutlass that I've got in the room, arr, matey, and stuff like that. So next year I think I'll go as a pirate. This year, it's more low effort. But I've got plenty of spooky stuff in the background. Anyway, by the way, I don't think I showed this off. Hexen Witch makes these. And I thought that with the Halloween live stream, this is a good idea. This is Stolas, as envisioned by Hexen Witch. And I think I've got a card somewhere for her shop, actually, somewhere around here, but I can't find it. I like it. I think that it's cool. A little bit on the spooky side. More or less posable. So, yeah. Next to Bakwai chips over there. I don't think you want to eat those, though, dude. I don't think that'd be a good idea. Kraina Gurzbo, by the way. It's a Polish series. It's made, you should look that up. Look up Mushroom Land or something like that. I got all sorts of creepy stuff in my background. Not without good reason. And, of course, Stolas. Stolas from Helluva Boss. Oh, my. And, gourds and pumpkins and crazy shit like that. Well, you're supposed to sit up. You're drunk as a lord, as usual. But yeah, we're going to talk about Halloween stuff today. This is a non-political chat. We're just going to shoot the shit with regards to... that's not working over there. Just a sec. Shit. Come on. There we go. I had to resize that a little bit. I mean, there are plenty of political topics to talk about, but I figure I'll just save them till tomorrow. I wanted to talk about spooky stuff. Emily's Bridge, the Pigman of Stowe. We've got Champ. This is just in Vermont. And also the Glastonbury Mountain phenomenon. That's a real one. So from Missing 411, they actually talked about Glastonbury Mountain. We've got 5 days till the election as well. That's the only political aside I will issue today. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about all sorts of cool, spooky stuff. So you can prompt me in the chat, super chat or non-super chat. It doesn't really matter. Lord of the Ree, happy Halloween. Sticks, where do I send the life-size sculpture of you that I made out of candy corn? I know it's your favorite. Clank. I kill you. No, I'm not a fan of candy corn. I like to have, my teeth intact. It is funny when you're a kid, when you're younger, your teeth are falling out and stuff, your baby teeth. It is kind of funny to take a piece of candy corn and shove it in and pretend that it's your tooth. Other than that, it has no purpose. OMG puppies, have a happy All Hallowed Eve. Oh, yeah, The Jersey Devil by PTSHU2. Yeah, let's weigh in on The Jersey Devil. Really weird story. The story goes that there was a woman and she had a bunch of kids and she got pregnant again. And she said something like, well, the next child will be the devil. And then the child, comes out and then flies up the chimney and has been harassing residents of the Pine Barrens, actually, in southern New Jersey ever since. I do not believe in this particular cryptid, but it's an interesting story. It's definitely, it's fucking weird. As a kid, I really loved The Jersey Devil. There was this book by Cohen. I can't remember the name of it. It was in the young adult section in the library in Woodstock, and it talked about the Jersey Devil, but also like Little Green Man and ghosts and stuff like that. I loved that book. I must have checked it out 20 times as a kid. My name is in there repeatedly, if it's still there. Beep, bop, boop. Are you a fan of the Halloween franchise? Not hugely. My particular movie of the night will be Hocus Pocus. Yes. Cooking Inferno. Sticks, you're a stone's throw from Whitehall, New York, home of the Bigfoot. I'm in ground zero of New Hampshire, Bigfoot country. Yeah, Bigfoot does not exist in the East. If there are any cryptids that would be associated with the tale of Bigfoot or the Yeti or something in the North American continent, they are limited to the Western coast. You look at it, historically speaking, The original encounters are all in the Pacific Northwest, so British Columbia, Washington State, Oregon, Northern California. And all of a sudden, when it began to become popular, when the topic became popular, all of a sudden you get Bigfoot sightings everywhere else, in the Midwest, in the Northeast, etc. There was one a few years ago of an albino Bigfoot, actually not far from here, Western Rutland County, like 10 miles from here. I do not believe that one. I think that somebody probably got drunk and they saw something else, like a person that was dressed up in a white coat. Yeah, Hocus Pocus is the greatest Halloween movie. I could ramble for literally the entire 2 hours here about Hocus Pocus. Back in the day, Nickelodeon and Disney and all of these groups had not yet created what became the young adult genre. So you wanted movies that were branded to people that were a little bit too old for little kid stuff, but a little bit too young for the PG-13 and saying fuck, basically. And so they created this genre later. But back in the early 90s, when I was a kid, they didn't have such a genre. It basically jumped from this is for little kids to this is for older people. So you went straight from PG to rated R, basically. The whole Y7 and things like that didn't really exist at the time. And so because of that poor branding, Hocus Pocus fell flat. It became a cult classic, but it never became really commercially successful, destroyed Omri Katz, the main character's career, and hazarded the careers of multiple other people in that movie. By the way, I am the same age as the little girl in that movie. Boy, that makes me feel old. Audio is popping like crazy. Let me check. I might be using the wrong. Let's see. Am I using the wrong audio? Nope. No, it seems to be fine on my end. Privateer of the East. Thoughts on the Cenobites and Hellraiser franchise? Hellraiser's pretty great. Redane. Hi, Sticks. What do you think of Mothman? I strongly believe what the people actually saw was a large red-eyed owl. That'd be one hell of an owl. There might be something behind that. It could be like a drone research or something like that. I hate to rationalize, but it's possible. Yeah, Bog. Sarah Jessica Parker's true form in Hocus Pocus. She plays a pedophile in that movie, actually. Just like when Omri Katz, who was under 18, I believe, or cast as under 18 at the time, as a high schooler, is there. Oh, can I tie him up and play with him? And like weird shit like that, you know? Sarah Jessica Parker is a little bit weird. She was hot in that movie, though, admittedly. Lord of the Reed, take a piece of candy corn and shove it in. Sticks 2024. Cam 2425 IA, the Van Meteor Visitor. Check it out. And Vanessa Shaw was one of the first crushes, but it was because of the movie Ladybugs. I've seen it. Dan says, Happy Halloween. Yeah, I'm going to watch Hocus Pocus later, and I might watch Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, and then Matthew Hammond. What about The Nightmare Before Christmas? Of course, I will give it love. Although I think Corpse Bride was the better movie, actually. Corpse Bride was a gem. And then every other emo girl was wearing the Corpse Bride shirt with the skeleton hands over the boobs, and, you know, the rest was history. I'm not going to say that I didn't like that, you know. Taco Woman, Sandy Ravage. Best horror film of the year is Late Night with the Devil. Haven't seen that. Apparently, I should probably see it. My favorite horror movie, well, I don't know if you'd call it horror. That's the problem. My favorite movie of all time is Brotherhood of the Wolf. Technically, it's got horror elements, but it's also got mystery elements, kung fu elements, believe it or not, romance, comedy. It's basically like they took every genre and poured it into one movie. And normally when you mix genres, it's not great. Like rom-coms, for example, they all suck other than Shallow Hal. I'll simp for that particular movie, but that's because you got DeVito, you got Jack Black. They made it funny enough so that it's passable. So generally when you mix genres, you have to be very careful doing that because more often than not, it falls flat. With Brotherhood of the Wolf, they said, yeah, why don't we take all the genres and put it into one movie? For some reason, it just worked. Second favorite movie, Ninth Gate, made by Roman Polanski, a pedo, unfortunately. But it starred Johnny Depp, One of his unsung wonders of a movie. A lot of people panned it. They didn't like it. I thought it was great. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. Happy Halloween, clankers. Yep, this is his day. Lucian Hex, ever hear of Mel's Hole? It's interesting. No, I haven't. Andrew Van Halen, Ghost has a live concert movie out now. It's perfect for Halloween. By the way, the Copium Poppies actually releasing their first music video earlier. I put it on Twitter if you want to see it. Last Beacon, hey Sticks, ping us. Also, happy Halloween. Have you heard about the ABC affiliate in Pennsylvania calling the election for Harris a couple days in advance? Yes, I think everyone has. But we're not talking politics today. We're talking spooky stuff. Copium Poppies, clank. Thanks for sharing our new video on Twitter. Thoughts? I liked it. I like atmospheric style music a lot, actually. Atmospheric is a big thing. It would be in my top 3 genres. Atmospheric music would be in there. Also, like folk metal stuff like that. You get like Wood Smoke and stuff like that by Nest. That would be another one. And then synthwave. It's really weird because I have bipolar tastes in music. On the one hand, it's like Italo disco wave music, like the really hip stuff, jumping around, dancing and shit like that. Boy bands and female soloists. And on the other hand, it's like the dark, kind of depressive, atmospheric stuff. Taco Woman, Sandy Ravage, listening to nothing but typo negative today. We're Peter Steele. Yeah, I'm just going to watch Hocus Pocus, turn the porch light off so people know don't bother coming here for candy because, unfortunately, there was a lack of preparation. And next year, I might actually dress up. But this year, I decided to go low effort and just dress as normal because I look Halloweeny enough already. Valdemar Joule sent 5 DKK. I don't know what DKK is, denominated in currency, but thank you anyway. Last weekend, they sticks. Oh, I already read that one. Also, it's my mom's birthday. Your mom has a very, very cool birthday if she was born on Halloween. That's what I'm talking about. Wasted Bonehead Sticks. We may not be talking about politics, but you have to admit some of our politicians sure look and act like monsters. Some may be possessed by demons. Yeah, I know. I don't think they're always possessed by demons. Some of them just are demons, unfortunately. David Orr, your candy corn heathen here. Tucker interviewed an exorcist a few days ago and had some cool, horrifying stories. Might be a fun Halloween listen for you. Yeah, exorcism is bullshit, actually. We'll talk about some Vermont legends, too. For example, and this is something that I've noticed with urban legends. There are similarities across geographic areas if you look at urban legends with regards to what those urban legends are. For example, we have Emily's Bridge here in Vermont. Now, supposedly, the story goes, at least according to one account, a couple of star-crossed lovers, they go to the bridge, and they kill themselves because they can't be together. In another version, one of them shows up, usually the girl, and the dude doesn't show up, so she kills herself, and now the bridge is haunted. And if you track this across the country, and indeed into other countries as well, you'll find similar spirit tales with regards to this. The same is true of cautionary tales. That's number 2. Like the Pigman of Stowe. Now, up in Stowe in the Devil's Washbowl, which is sort of a crater-like mountainous arrangement up there. Supposedly, there was a deformed child who was bullied by others and became, of course, insane as the result of this. He was deformed. And so you shouldn't go out at night because the Pigman will get you. Now, of course, it's a cautionary tale. The adults are saying, don't go out because the Pigman will get you. Really, it's like, hey, if you go out, you might get abducted, you might get raped, you might get attacked by a wild animal. So, stay indoors on Halloween night. Please don't go out and party with your friends out in the Devil's Washbowl, a remote area in which, people, they're going to smoke weed and drink and stuff like that. So it's a cautionary tale. Then you have lake monster traditions. And I wish I had my copy of Lake Monster Traditions by Claude Gagnon and Michel Murger, one of the best books that I've ever actually read in my life. And you can see the evolution of these lake monsters as the diaspora from Europe, especially, cascades across the world. So at first, they're treating them as perfectly normal biological life forms that aren't fully quantified. There's an occult period in which they ascribe magical tendencies to them. And then there's the rational period in which they say, okay, well, the original reports are bullshit, but there's something there. And they take up the line of skepticism and saying, well, maybe there's nothing there at all. It's just an amalgamation of other things. I happen to agree in most parts, but I do believe that there is always the possibility, for instance, the freshwater sharks of, I think it's Peru or Bolivia, there is always the possibility of some out-of-place animal existing. Does that mean it has magical properties? No. Does it mean that it's unique and should be studied and is interesting? Abso-fucking-lutely. Science overlaps with the paranormal in this particular realm. Wasted Bonehead, gonna have a sexorcism with a few nuns later. I'll enjoy that. Short Stack is going to vote. That's what I'm talking about. Texas represent. Texas will go red for Trump, but you know, every vote counts in the national popular. Wasted Sticks, thoughts on the Mothman of West Virginia, real or not? There are some weird fucking encounters there, and I lean towards it being possibly some sort of U.S. Air Force test more than anything else. Some people are just seeing a big owl. Some people are seeing, you know, an albatross or some other, you know, particularly biological animal, a life form, a regular one. Some of them, I think, are seeing some other things. This is another thing I wanted to talk about, and it's a big problem within cryptozoological research as related to aliens, especially. 30 years ago, if you saw a flying saucer, unless it was a government test, they did have hovercrafts that looked like saucers. And there was the flying wing of the Germans and all of these other things, and the jet engine and these various advents. But generally, you were seeing something that was provably humanly piloted. Now, though, I can take a regular old commercial drone, I can put a balsam wood scaffold over it on the sides with LED lights and tinfoil, and I can pilot it through the sky, and people will think that it's a legit flying saucer. All I have to do is make sure that they're drunk before I do it. They'll think that it's a flying saucer. They'll take grainy pictures because that's apparently all that cell phones and video cameras can do, and people will think that it's an actual alien spacecraft. It could be a government spacecraft. It could be a private drone. It could be some teenagers playing a prank. It wouldn't be that difficult. But now we've sort of spoiled ourselves with regards to research into extraterrestrial life because of the availability of drones more than anything else. And so we're never going to get any closure on that. I personally do not believe that aliens are visiting our planet. I believe that there may be species out there aware of the fact that we exist. Our planet is probably a death shroud of bacteria and viruses that they seek to avoid at all costs. Scully Bones, happy Halloween. My watch list today will be John Carpenter's Halloween, Mars Attacks, and Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow, another unsung Johnny Depp classic. Gristle Lumps. I dislike the current political situation in Delaware, but we have a lot of cool ghost stories from the Revolutionary War. Lots of those, especially from Gettysburg and stuff like that. Well, that's Civil War, but war stories, anywhere where there's been mass death, you always get ghost stories. The idea is that 100,000 people died here, so somebody must have lingered around. Copium Poppies, you should check out Les Claypool's solo album of Fungi and Foe. I think you'll dig that album. Also, did you ever check out the album Eidolon by Richelieu? I suggested before. If not, you are seriously missing out. Yeah, I haven't actually. My apologies. Long Walks Music. Happy Halloween, Clankers. Forever Halloween is out now. A chill song about Halloween and nostalgia. Check it out at Long Walks Music on Rumble, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp. Sticks, I think you'd like it. Yeah, I'm always in the mood for new music. I also like the obscure, what is it called? Just a sec. Here's some creepy music for you if I can pull it up. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, the No Longer Forgotten Music blog. I'm going to pop this in chat. If you want some weird fucking music, they've got you covered. Yeah. I'll pop that in there on YouTube and also on Rumble. Yeah, take a look at the 433 RPM blog spot, and you can download their crazy shit. There's some weird stuff there. Wasted Bonehead, shout out to the new Copium Poppies and their new music video. It was a creepy video. Loved it. Yeah, I think that was AI generated from claymation or something. It was pretty great. Suitor Tom, sup, dude? Can't wait for Andy and his fat friend to make a 10-hour stream about 10 minutes of some random shit you say. Yeah, I don't know what happened with Andy. We had been reasonably friendly in the past. His co-host apparently didn't like me, but Andy never expressed any problems with me. But that is immaterial. We're talking about spooky things. By the way, what is it? Got another link for you. Shadowlands, yeah. You want some old school net here? Take a look at that shit. That's what I'm talking about. Go to Shadowlands. When I made all of my haunted locations videos, locations that I wasn't personally tipped off about, I padded it out with things from that. It's really great, actually. And yeah, you'll find plenty of haunted locations probably in your community, unless it's the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, I used to go through that all the fucking time. Wolfman Most, can you ride a broomstick? Yeah, I mean, I can't fly on one, but I can put it under my crotch and then walk around with it making weird noises. Yeah, I got this coat from a subscriber, and I was thinking, I wish I had a tricorn hat, and I could have my cutlass, and I could go as like a gothic pirate or something. But I don't have a tricorn hat. It's very sad. Grandfall, have you ever seen anything about the Backrooms? I've never been into horror movies, but the Backrooms get me. Kane Pixels and Async Research make great videos here on YouTube. Not real, but is still fun. No, I haven't heard of it. Yeah, anyone can DM me on Twitter, by the way, regarding anything spooky, any weird shit that you find, music, videos. I'm always looking for spooky videos, too. I remember back in the day, there were a lot more of them. Like there was Baby Bam Bam Bumpkin, and boy, oh boy, could I go down that rabbit hole. The channel, I believe, is still there, but hasn't uploaded in like 15 years. It's tied into the Mormon Bates and Sentimental Corp goat worship sort of stuff. Eggs Over Novice. Do you enjoy Cradle of Filth? I like Nymphetamine and a couple of other songs. Not a huge fan. Although I did pay Danny Filth to do a shout out to Animator Man once for the Andy 6 log posting, and thought that was hilarious. Will Gooding. A happy Halloween to clankers and friends. I hope it's as scary as Biden's Depends, with Pelosi witches and Schumer goblins. Oh my, with Andy 6's creamy, steamy surprise. NKFD. Sticks, what can you tell us about Vermont cryptids? Well, we've got a number of weird stories from this state. Emily's Bridge, that's an urban legend, as I've already explained. The Pigman of Stowe is a cautionary message, and Champ is sort of a takeoff on the popularity of Loch Ness. Although I would say there has been some legit scientific research into Lake Champlain, and they have heard sounds in the lake that would be commensurate with possibly a small population of whales, which could have adapted to a freshwater environment. I have a feeling, though, that most people are seeing tree logs. Some of them are seeing sturgeons. You get some tourists. Imagine this. Tourists go out on their little boat, and this is a lake. It's not the ocean. So they're expecting fish are like, this big, or a couple feet long, maybe at most. They don't realize that there are sturgeons in that lake that are 12 feet long, and there are. Well, when a sturgeon decides to sun itself right next to the boat, and they see this scaly back of this 12-foot-long sturgeon, they're not used to seeing those sorts of things now, are they? And so they conflate it in their mind with being a monster. It's possible there's something weird in the lake, but I think the weirdest thing in Lake Champlain is probably the hundreds and hundreds of shipwrecks that are down there, buried in the sediment. There's an awful lot of them. There's an awful lot of shit that could be recovered, by the way, from these shipwrecks. There's probably like 200-year-old liquor and cannonballs and weird shit, skeletons. It's all down there. When you go over Lake Champlain, you're swarming over thousands of dead people, actually, that were never recovered. People don't realize this. They just see a nice, calm lake. The Emperor's Champion, New Mexico, has a bunch of weird stuff, from ghosts to aliens to cryptids and skinwalkers, which is simply someone who practices black magic. Yes, I've looked into skinwalkers. Snow, I have a brand new album on Bandcamp called The Sunbright Regalement of the Mindless Chaos. You'll love my Lovecraftian music. Also, search Alicia Shepherd. Sounds cool. Copium Poppies, thanks to Wasted Bonehead for the shout-out and support on X. When it comes to skeletons, he's one of the good ones. Also, Styx DM'd you Richelieu's album. Listen to it all the way. Okay, I will. But you got to realize I also got to watch Hocus Pocus and do a couple of other things today. I'm thinking about getting outside because actually this is not Halloween weather that we've got right now. Normally Halloween is kind of spooky and dark. Fully sunny, 70 degrees. It's like midsummer, actually, by Vermont standards. I'm thinking about raking out in the garden and then mowing it down just one last time. I don't know. Will Gooding, Styx, you hear about the 500-year-old Greenland shark that scientists are calling the oldest living vertebrate? No, I haven't seen that. Yeah, DM me that. I'll talk about that on a live stream. By the way, UVM is also haunted. I attended UVM. They've got a number of ghosts there. I think in one of the girls' dormitories, the main, not the Davis Center, that's the new student center, but the old, what was the student center, in the library. They've got 5 or 6 hauntings on campus. I think I detailed them actually in my Haunted Vermont Locations video. Musically Assured Destruction, the Philadelphia Experiment, is my favorite spoopy myth and conspiracy theory. Also, shout out to Maritime Horror's channel. Yes, Maritime Horror is an excellent channel. Go subscribe. Ghost Ships Galore. Maritime Horror is one of my favorite channels on YouTube. These days, I've gotten more into the spooky stuff and cooking things. And, of course, politics. But, I mean, we're forsaking that for one day. Copium Poppies. Also, we did use AI to make the video. It's more labor-intensive and a creative process than you'd think. Yeah, I would like it if you would tell me what program you used and how you actually do that, because I'd like to make some AI videos. That'd be fun. Emperor Soft Turtle, I know you were a Helluva Boss fan. Any thoughts on live streaming the new episode tonight? Oh, there's a Halloween episode? Well, you just made my day. Thank you. Or you can make commentary tracks for your favorite movies like Hocus Pocus. No, I'm going to watch Hocus Pocus and apparently the new episode of Helluva Boss, and that makes me 10 times happier than I was when I woke up. Stinky Shoes. Follow my buddy Big Tom Callahan at Callahan Autoco on Twitter and send him some clanks. He sells really good brake pads. Sounds cool. Pizza Slayer has joined as a monthly supporter. Thank you very much. Yeah, on Rumble, if you want to join as a monthly supporter, that's always appreciated. I don't know exactly what it entails because I don't know how to do that shit, but I guess there's something. What do fuck? I hiked from Inverness, half up Loch Ness. It's 8 miles from the ocean. Occasionally, a sea lion chases a fish up the river into the loch. Monster, eliminate normal before jumping straight to Bigfoot. Yeah, occasionally they do get like seals and sea lions up there. The tails are a little bit more. They talk about a monster or a creature. It's a little bit bigger than that. Yeeter the Eater. Helluva Boss has fallen off, in my opinion. No, I think that the last episode was really good, actually. My least favorite was, what was it? Western Adventures, I think it was called. That one, I didn't like it as much. The ones that they made the last couple of times, I liked Mammon's special. That one was excellent. The latest one was good. I like Helluva Boss. I don't know. Now, where do you think I got this from? That's the seal of Stolas. I got it for a reason. Redane, William Shatner has made a lot of paranormal documentaries recently. I think they are quite underrated. Yeah, Nimoy did that too back in the day with In Search of and Ancient Mysteries. I think that they both shared sort of a liking of that sort of thing. Oscar Gonzalez, Styx, when you were in Texas, did you ever hear of La Llorona, the weeping woman crying for her drowned dead kids? No, but that tale along with Bloody Mary is one of the most well-known. The idea is it's like a spectral hitchhiker. She's like crying and she's lost her kids. And then you get halfway home and she disappears and stuff like that. Whereas Bloody Mary, it's just like the old kids game. You twirl about in front of the mirror and chant Bloody Mary and then stare into the mirror. And if you stare long enough at your reflection, it will start to look weird and deformed. And I think that they were just like spooking themselves with that. To be clear, I don't believe in Bloody Mary. There are some cryptids that I do believe plausibly exist. Number one would be Bigfoot. And but then only in the original geographic area it was documented in. And I base this on the fact that there is actually a hominid that would, assuming that it had continued to evolve, probably becoming smaller as CO2 levels lowered. There is a hominid that would comport to that basic schema. Now, most of the people that see Bigfoot are probably seeing bears more than anything, or a person in a gorilla suit potentially. But it's plausible. You imagine that there's some reasonably intelligent hominid, tends to dwell in caves, far out in the woods, and eating pine cones and shit. People would encounter it only sporadically because there's not a lot of development going on in those areas. So while it's not necessarily the most likely explanation for what's being seen, at the very least, it's plausible. Same is true of like giant squid. Until fairly recently, giant squid were cast off as being nothing more than a mariner's tale. Well, yeah, squid can get 40, 50 feet long, but you're talking about a 120-foot squid. What the fuck are you smoking? We now know that they probably do get that big. Yeah, there was a famous, I can't remember what group, I think it was Nat Geo did it back in the day, like 10 years ago. And they took like an 8-foot Humboldt squid and they strap it onto a hook and they put it down there to see if they can drop a larger squid. And all of a sudden, out of the depths comes this squid that must have been 100 fucking feet long with its tentacles. Gigantic. I mean, the body of the squid would be the size of a trawler. And it was real. They actually got footage of it. Up until then, generally 20, 30 feet was generally conceived of as being the cutoff. But it turns out they can get a lot bigger than that. It's probably very rare, but it is physically possible for them to do so. Giant octopus. The idea is that octopus generally, they're 4 or 5 feet across, but there are a handful of them that are 15 feet across. Well, yeah, if you get latched onto by one of them, your scuba gear is not going to save you. You will drown. Let's see. What the fuck? I already read that one. Pizza Slayer, Music Recce. Check out Hell Ripper for some awesome old school sounding black and thrash metal. I've been following for a couple of years now and can afford some support. Clank. So I'm talking about Dad rambling about his oil change. What the fuck? When I lived in South Texas, I always was amazed at the number of people who would travel to pray at rust stain resembling Jesus on the side of an oil refinery tank or water tower. There are so many jokes about that. Cooking Inferno, Sticks, that was Monster Quest. Okay, it was Monster Quest. Yeah, I remember that fondly. I watched it at the time. I thought it was hilarious. Will Gooding, Sticks, I put a link to the shark story in the YouTube chat. Copium Poppies, we'll DM you later about how we made the video. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be fun to fiddle around with. Yeah, you remember that moment in time where like History Channel and Nat Geo and all those others, they switched over to paranormal programming for a few years. This was after the Hitler period. For a few years, it was all World War II. It's like there was an old joke like, I watched so much History Channel that I thought I was prepared to invade Poland or something like that. Then they switched to the paranormal stuff and unfortunately got tied in with like the redneck shit. Like I was never a fan of like Ice Road Truckers. It's all right, but or that show where they were catching catfish by, I guess, wiggling their hand around in there. The catfish grabs it and then they haul it out of the water. And then they had the redneck humor shit with Larry the Cable Guy and stuff like that. I was never a fan. Copium Poppies. Since we're talking spooky stuff, one of the songs on our EP, our singer wrote the lyrics in November 2019. Some of the lyrics could be interpreted as having predicted some of the events of 2020 and later. Many such cases, by the way. Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Hey, Sticks and Clankers. Hope everyone has a happy Halloween. I have a few gemstone necklaces listed and adding some jade ones later. Use code STICKS for 10% off your order. By the way, I'm going to shout out our sponsors really quickly. This is a non-political stream, so, you know, it's just, I wanted a day off from politics before we go into the subsequent 5 days, because it's going to be all politics all the time. There will be nothing else to talk about up through the election, and probably for a couple days after as we autopsy whatever happens. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. Yeah, baby. I rely upon these every single morning. I got lots of mushrooms. None of them will get you high, but they are neuroregenerative, so I appreciate that. Pumpkinfirecrafts.us, as you just said. Use code STICKS, of course, for 10% off. You can get belt chains, keychains, bookmarks, engraved spoons, glassware, and much more. from Pumpkin Fire Crafts, much with the Ouroboros logo on it. BiltongUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com. I am planning to visit the Roanoke area imminently, probably as the weather is colder, because, you know, you go down to Texas in midwinter here, it'll be 20 below. There, it'll be 50 above. I know which temperature I prefer. Again, use code STIX10, I believe, for 10% off there. We've also got Sticks, X, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available. wickedneedleembroidery.bigcartel.com, where you can get Sticks, X, and Hammer hats. They look kind of Halloween-y, you know, black and white. You know, you've got the little dragon thing, Ouroboros, and so forth. Several colors and styles are available. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, where you can get a seed survival bucket. You know, depending on your climate, you're looking forward to the next gardening season. For us, I have to wait a little bit longer than the average person. Also, Sticks, X, and Hammer soap. We've got men's and ladies varieties both available. Webster'sWares.com/sticks-wares. They've got Trump paraphernalia too. Probably your last day to really order it and get it in before Election Day. Also, Sticks, X, and Hammer blades, beanies, metal straws, and more. Save a sea turtle, then go to New Orleans and eat a fucking sea turtle. It's actually delicious. A little bit on the salty side, otherwise pretty much perfect. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is jamnbean.com. You can get the official Clank blend of coffee there. There are various teas available. I strongly recommend the Healer tea. Best tea that I've ever had, actually, bar none. Way better than anything you get from Celestial, even better than like the co-op, like the proprietary blends they have. Oh, it was great. I drank 8 glasses of that tea in a single night. I was pissing like a racehorse, but I don't regret it at all. Wasted Bonehead. Sticks and stones break bones, and I break you. Formula XFD. Hi, Sticks. Recently, a family member passed away. The day before they died, I thought I saw them for a blink of an instant, like a spliced in a frame of a film. All in my head? Not necessarily. Depends on who you ask. I don't have answers on that sort of thing. That's always confounded me, too. Scott Steiner. Travel Channel is now almost all occult, paranormal, and cryptozoology shows. History is slowly adding more of these types of shows again. Have you considered going on one of these occult as an expert? Hell yeah. If I get invited onto one of those shows, absolutely. What do fuck? 63% of Sasquatches polled in the blue wall states identify as cisgender. Wasted Sticks. If you go on Anton's, will you be signing books for any clankers who might be there? If somebody wants me to sign something when I'm at Anton's, I'll definitely sign it. Mainly, I'm just going to buy a bunch of cool shit, and we're all going to have a feast. Beer and Gear. Happy Halloween, Mr. Sticks. You don't think the schoolboys will just use the free ketchup from the cafeteria to dunk the tampons in and throw them at each other? Lol. Stay spooky, sir. That's what I predict will happen. BW. Did you see ABC release election results saying Kamala wins swing states? New York Post. Yes, I saw that with Pennsylvania, actually. They're saying that they used random number generation and stuff. Ramon C. GTC, can you teach us a spell to protect Trump? Just focus your energy. You don't need an elaborate ritual or anything like that. You can conduct them like I do, but it takes a little while. Delicious goat meal. Sticks is going shirtless for Halloween? Only partially shirtless, you know. Good enough. If you want to see more, you gotta pay me. Alex Bogey, my condolences on your New Orleans experience. I, too, still have legal troubles 3 years later from drinking too much. Tried to swear it off, but weed is too strong nowadays as a replacement for booze. Yeah, I'm booze-free. Why are people saying my audio is fucked up? Just a second here. Let me see. It should be using the right microphone. I think maybe that's a problem. I don't know. NJ and the MJ. Sticks, let's make a new cryptid hunting show. We can call it Monster Baiters. Patchy. Maybe I'll turn it down. Maybe that'll help. Hey, Sticks, have you updated your views on tarot and divination? I've dabbled in tarot and found it to be accurate and similar. From YouTube videos, X and Ons and myself, I think it's like meme magic. Huh. I don't know what happened with my microphone. Whatever. No, I still believe that that side of the occult is bullshit. It's entertaining. There's nothing wrong with it. It's basically parlor magic. But yeah, I don't believe in it myself. I prefer dream interpretation, herbalism, folklore, and high magical ritual. Sigil Stone, Spoopy Day is here. Time to shit on some undead and dab. Dirkut, have you ever watched Tom McDonald, the rapper, tell his ghost story? I watch every Halloween. No, I haven't. BW, so if she wins, we will know she did not. Huh. Popping sound on my microphone. Yeah, I mean, it's on the right one. It's on the one I always use. Maybe it was overmodulated there. Anyways, I'm going to go to the bathroom really quickly. I will be right back, and we'll talk about some more spooky stories. And if anyone wants to submit any spooky ideas for things to talk about, that's what I'm talking about. So I'll BRB and all that kind of stuff. All right, I am back. Had to get a caffeine pick-me-up, too. Let's see. Sigil Stone, Spoopy Day is here. Time to shit on some undeb and dab. Durka, have you ever watched Tom McDonald tell his... Oh, I already read that one. Oh, somehow I skipped Sigil, I think, there. BW, so if she wins, we'll know she did not, yes. Forestry, don't read or respond now, but deets. I've never been to Denmark, actually. Scott Steiner. I saw an angelic power when I was younger. They're translucent androgynous angels that are ambivalent to humanity. Very relatable vibe that they hate their jobs of dealing with humanity's problems. And bystander, I've got a dream interpretation thing that I'll talk about in a minute. Bystander syndrome. Have you ever heard of the white man? It's an urban myth of a Yeti-like demon. It appears to those on the verge of death in a blizzard. It offers them a deal, continued life or something precious. Sounds a little bit like the Wendigo story, actually. A little bit. Annette Landry, do you believe in ghosts? Yes, because I saw one. I do not believe that they are ethereal spirits, however. I saw one when I was in Florida, and I assure you I was completely sober at the time. I was not on weed. I was not on alcohol or anything like that. And it was early afternoon. It wasn't even like the middle of the night spooky time. And I saw the, like, it was kind of glowing greenish. And it was a person from roughly the midriff down to about the knees walking across the room. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck, basically. Because it looked like it would, you know, if you extended the legs, it would extend through the floor. Of course, the trailer that I was in at the time, of course, it's elevated by a few inches. And I actually saw that. Let me tell you about my weird dream the other day. I had a dream that I was in a city, and the city was the whole world, actually. But it was flattened out. It was sort of like a gigantic, like, mega city. And I decided that I wanted to go outside of the gates of the city in order to explore what was beyond. And there was a huge rocky no man's land filled with like caves and cliffs and stuff like that, extending off into all directions. And there was no prohibition in the city. Like somehow I just knew like you're allowed to go in and out. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody cares. And that nobody had come back from going out of the city. And, you know, you could interpret this two ways. Basically, nobody comes back because they die or they get captured or something. Or nobody comes back because they don't want to. And I got across some miles of this no man's land, and I was on a cliff, like a hill or a plateau or something. And I could just see the city in the distance that I had just come from. And on the other side, there was like an impenetrable barrier that was made out of like a canyon, a very shallow but wide canyon, in which there was this like white phosphorescent water that was whirling around. And it was like semi-anti-gravity, so it would like spray up into the air and stuff like that. And there were these beings up in the sky that I was trying to hide from because I was afraid of them. I was hiding in a cave at one point before I went back to the city. I figured it was a bad idea. And they looked like, imagine, you know, a pirate ship, like they have like the figurine at the front with like usually like a mermaid or a woman or something. Imagine that the ship was an actual living being. Glowing and made out of like white light and crystals and shit like that, like glimmering. But that was the actual being, and the ship was like an abdomen of like this angelic insect floating through the air. And I was trying to disguise myself from them by hiding in this cave, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit much for me. I'm just going to go back to the city. It's really weird, actually. NKFD, I've been told that when you're streaming, if you encounter audio issues, it sometimes has to do with how many tabs you have open. I've only got one tab open, actually. Twitter, specifically. Let's see here. Chewy Fernandez, good morning, Sticks. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you, too. We've got our Turks turbans from Heritage Heirloom, of course. They're still available to eat. They will be eaten. Vij, happy Halloween from the gay Texas oil field man. We voted for Trump. Have a good day. Lots of Trump signs around not far from here, actually. There's a whole neighborhood full of them. One of them says, fuck your feelings, and has Trump, flipping people off. Splash Mountain, how to get more info on a South Korea cult sacrificing kids. I mean, you can look it up. I'm sure that it's all over online. I did see that particular story. It was weird. Celestial Sticks, I'm a firefighter. I know gallons per minute by hose size. Judging by the length of your piss break, you must be working with a small hose. No, I just piss like a racehorse. You just force it out, and then you drink, more energy drinks, and then you piss again. What the fuck? Is there some popping on your audio when you start a sentence? Oh, I didn't know. Sir Thomas Drake. I'm a fan of the 1996 Peter Jackson film The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. Good actor, by the way. Good CGI for its day. Spooky and humorous all at once. Yeah, Michael J. Fox does it best. He's pretty great. And Ho Dave. I've seen Stolas. It was in his owl form. Scared the fuck out of me. I have literally seen Stolas when I was younger. And then I read the Ars Goetia, and I realized, oh, there's probably a reason for that. Wasted Bonehead Sticks. I'm sad to say the final solution to Sigil is not to flex seal his asshole. It's to become a commie. No food, no poo. It's that simple. Like so many other dead people and a damn communist. Sigil, to the tune of Monster Mash. He took a shit. He took a monster shit. He took a shit. It was a bathroom hit. He took a shit. He'll need the plunger in a bit. He took a shit. I hope I did a good job. I like the Monster Mash. They play that every Halloween. Forestry, Amsterdam. Yeah, not Denmark, Amsterdam. Sigil Stone, I'm grinding bones to make my bread, so I can quite literally shit the undead. Lord of the Ree, ghosts are demons, not your dead grandma. They want to manipulate you to let them in. Don't fall for it. Next thing they'll be asking you for tree fitty. Clank. Wasted Bonehead. On the bright side, there are so many dead communists, so I won't be alone. Sad that I have to advocate for breadlines. Very sad. Sigil, holy fuck, I just saw the ghost of my dead grandmother. I was terrified until I noticed it wasn't the incorporeal soul of my matrilineal relation at all, and was instead a monster from the Proterozoic era. BW, okay, one more and then I shut up. Do you think the ABC thing means they have already rigged it for her to win? No, actually, I don't. Like they already printed the ballot. Sorry for the doom. No, actually, that would be counterproductive. I don't think that they've rigged it. Not at least there. In Arizona, meanwhile, you might as well do a coin flip for the election. Linux Debian 104. Viking here. Not big on Halloween. Am I forgiven if I just watch an old Dracula movie starring Christopher Lee? Yes, indeed. Absolutely. You should watch the 1990s Dracula, though, which had Anthony Hopkins in it. Wasted Bonehead. Ah, fuck the commie idea. I'm going to advocate for hypercapitalism. We need new innovations for the war on Sigil and his poo gang. Lots of shit going around here. The Sumerian. I had a dream. I was standing on an ocean cliff. It was storming nighttime. There was a lighthouse rotating. Out comes a shadow figure with a knife. We started to fight. The shadow was my dark side. Dreams are sometimes quite wonderful. Ramon CGTC. I feel like sometimes I can control my dreams. Yes, occasionally you can get into that special spot where you're aware that you're dreaming and you can kind of control it. I've done this a few times before. One time I had, that sort of vibrational feeling down your body. I was just laying there and I became aware of the things around me. But I was seeing all sorts of weird shit. And I realized that if I concentrated, I could actually control their form and function. The problem is that once they get out of your visual range, they tend to mutate and change on their own whim. And so it's a little bit weird. But it's still fun. Felt great. It felt like I was getting a massage. I'm getting a massage and playing a dream video game at the same time. I thought it was a win-win. Not a banned account. What's going on with the reliable Dominion booths and our communist people? If not, what are they? They're people. They're just dumb people. Very dumb. And yeah, the Dominion booths in Colorado, they're having a real one right now. But we're not talking about politics right now today. We're talking about spooky stuff. Any more spooky stories? I will talk about any spookiness. Talk about the Paris catacombs. There's a spooky destination for Halloween. Do the French do Halloween? I know it's more of an Anglo-Saxon thing, but it's infiltrating the Netherlands. Like when I first got there years ago, you know, you'd see the occasional pumpkin and some Halloween party posters. That's all you'd see. Now it's inundated the country. Wasted bonehead. If the only good commie is a dead one, does that mean I'd be a good commie? Apparently. What do fuck? The Dracula from the late 50s and 60s with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing is my favorite. Isn't there a still of him looking at some chick and she has like a very, very see-through top and no bra on? And it's like, okay. Sigil. You know that thing from World War II about sewing bombs onto bats and dropping them on Japan? I have a great, very similar idea using bats, turtobaric explosives, and Bonehead's mausoleum. Sounds like Olga of Kiev, actually. This is another spooky story. It fits in with like Elizabeth Bathory and similar badass chicks throughout time. If you want to be a badass chick, all you have to do is look up Olga of Kiev. She had a young son. Her husband gets killed by her enemies, right? There were various tribes that were opposed to her rule and to their kingdom in general. And she said, okay, you come, you bring me gifts, and you send the suitors over, and, you know, I'll choose a suitor, basically. Well, they come in, they enter the city gates, and they come up, and they've got their gifts, and, you know, the people doing the flutes and the harps and everything else. And then she has them buried alive. She had a great big pit dug, and they shoved them all in, and they buried them alive and killed them. Now, nobody outside of the gates, because they were all dead, knew that this had happened. So then she said, oh, well, I've received your suitors, and that's all well and good. That's great. But we're going to need like a bigger feast and shit like that. You need to bring up more stuff if you know, want to marry into my kingdom. So then they sent, you know, convoys of goods and shit like that. And then they killed them as well. Now, by now, of course, people on the outside are beginning to become a little bit wary. But then she had another idea. She had people go out and gather the sparrows and shit that were roosting on the roofs and under the eaves of people's homes and businesses and so forth in the neighboring communities that wanted her to be forced into marriage. And she had strings tied to their legs with lit brimstone, and then they naturally flew back to their nests, immolating a number of cities in the process, killing tens of thousands of people. At some point, they proclaimed fealty and they said, enough is enough. And I think she had a bunch of other people executed after that as well. One hardcore fucking bitch. But she kept the kingdom for her son, and I believe he became king in the end. Scott Steiner, I can understand why the demons rebelled. Imagine hating your job and having to deal with self-destructive things who rarely learn from their mistakes and are favored by your employer. Very relatable. Lord of the Ree, I had sleep paralysis once and it scared the shit out of me. I was 12 and saw a cat on my chest and a dude in a hat by my closet, but couldn't quite make them out. Then a beam of light dispersed them. Yeah, the first time I had sleep paralysis, actually, interesting coincidence, I suppose, was when I was like 10 or something. And I had this dream where my cat Cleopatra was at the end of a tunnel, like sort of glaring out at me. And then she started scuttling up towards the tunnel towards me, and then it woke me up. And I felt like that vibration all over my body. But the more recent sleep paralysis that I had some years ago was much more pleasurable. It felt like I was lifted up out of my body, and I could literally move it from side to side. I could look at things. I could control things with my mind. My body, meanwhile, is getting this energetic massage. I thought it was great, actually. What the fuck? Foreigners' response to Halloween. So strange children dress as monsters, pound on your door at night and demand candy? It's weird for them. Yeah. Wasted bonehead. Sigil doesn't realize those are vampire bats. Talk about a backfire. Gonna be a shitty day for Sigil. Peace out, clankers. Lord of the Ree. The house was empty for a long time and used to be across the street from a high school. When we were replacing the carpet in my room, there was wax on the concrete shaped like a pentagram. We moved. I wouldn't have moved. I would have said, cool. Yeah, remnant energy. Yeah, great for vampirism. Sigil, you forgot the best part about Olga. She's a Catholic saint. Yeah, back when the Catholics actually sainted people deserving of it. She slaughtered tens of thousands of people to defend her kingdom from the heathens. You don't have to agree with Catholicism to believe that the basic premise is okay. Not a bad account. Is it cheating on your spouse to have erotic dreams about your favorite YouTuber streamers? Does it being a lucid dream matter? Ooh, no, I mean, it's not cheating, per se. I mean, you're not actually banging anyone. Chewy Fernandez, playing any horror games for Halloween sticks? No, I'm just going to dress as I normally do and eat a bunch of sour cream and onion chips with sour cream and onion dip. Turn the porch light off so people know there is no candy available here this year. Don't worry, next year we'll plan a little bit better. I've had some things going on in my life. I wasn't able to plan adequately. F YouTube 10.2. Have you seen the Terrifier movies with Art the Clown? No, I haven't actually. Sigil Stone. Bonehead doesn't realize I can use different bats. So yeah, talking about spooky stuff. Let's see. What others? Oh, Forestry is now a monthly supporter. Thank you very much. Let's see. What other spooky stuff should we talk about? How about the plagues bearers back in the old days with the Dark Ages? I made a video of this years ago, and I speculated something, and I think that it's true. If you've ever looked at the costumes that the plague doctors wore back then, you know, with the long beak-like thing and the goggles, and it's all woolen and or leather, I posited that this is a primitive hazmat suit. And when I see tales of people saying that there were people out in the fields that were spraying poison gas out in the fields, spreading plague, I say, well, that is a little bit weird now, isn't it? It's almost like there could have been a medieval death cult, and they understood the basic rudiments of contagion. So imagine that they take the dead and lance the buboes, and then they vaporize it somehow through some methodology and spray a bunch of plague bacterium on the wheat right before it's harvested. Unlikely, but plausible. It could probably be a thing. And so I've always thought that was odd, especially when you look at the plague doctors. Their costumes had a primitive filtration method. Antimicrobial herbs went in the beak. So they were drawing air in through that. That would tend to filter out and destroy the plague bacteria, generally speaking. They had watertight suits on. They wore gloves. They rarely touched the patients at all. They used a stick to prod them with instead. Basically, as far as medieval technology goes, I hate to say this, but they were pretty advanced. They were on the cutting edge of technology at the time. We look back at it and we say, oh, well, it's not made of plastic with a NATO filter, so it's not going to work. I think that it worked, at least to some extent. Nostradamus was, by the way, a plague doctor before he became more interested in the more straightforward occult. And one of the things that he talked about at the time, and this was wise, was that you should blast out the swampy, low-lying, poorly drained areas in your community with running water. You should divert a creek into it and wash it out. This probably saved a considerable number of people, because then with the human refuse gone, you have a lot less rats and therefore a lot less fleas. And most people don't know anything about that. They know Nostradamus from his quatrains, but they don't know about his period as literally a plague doctor. He also gave out pills to people, which were standard apothecarian fare at the time, mainly based on rose hips. There were antimicrobial properties associated with some of the things he was dispensing that probably didn't do as much as simply, removing the human waste from communities. Plagueman, after game figures were found in different places in my friend's house, I had seen a large black figure with a green face in the corner of his sister's room. More weird things happened in that house. Yeah, some places have more weird shit going on than others. By the way, look up In Search Of by Leonard Nimoy, of course, from back in the 70s and 80s, if you want to see some real creepy shit. Lord of the Ree, I'll be giving the trick-or-treaters 2 heaping handfuls of candy corn. Clank, you heathen, you monster. Scott Steiner, Halloween is celebrated by the Roman territories. It ties in celebrating Roman gods' triumph over other gods and Romans' belief that the supernatural things, not the gods, messed more with humanity. Yes, like the term demon comes from the Greek daimon, and it doesn't necessarily mean an evil spirit or a demon as we would conceive of it. It could also mean a spirit in general or an intelligence of some sort. Sigil Stone, I got a horror story for you. A banker arrived to work in the morning and found that all the mortgages had paid on time that month. Here's one for you. By the time that we are old, Social Security will be insolvent and you won't get a goddamn penny from it. Woo. He needs some milk. Happy Halloween, Sticks. It's my birthday. Clank on. That's a second Halloween birthday. Happy birthday to you. Mesner Flux sending $100, by the way. Thank you. And from a cobwebbed heap, took up the nearest tome and thumbed it through, trembling at curious words that seemed to keep some secret. Monstrous, if one only knew. Then looking at some cellar, old and craft, I could find nothing but a voice that laughed. H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft is great, by the way. Maybe I'll listen to The Mountains of Madness later. That's one of his best works. I like the one, I can't remember, what was it, the Haunter in the Dark or something like that. Took place actually in southeastern Vermont, mostly. The Sumerian, would you take acid and spend the night in Dracula's castle? I'd spend a month in Dracula's castle quite happily on any substance. I don't use LSD anymore, though. FUTube 10.2. Sticks, watch those movies. You'll fucking love them. Gory as fuck. Watch Dagon. I think it was 2001. H.P. Lovecraft based, by the way. Exceptionally gory. If you want to see one of the most grueling fucking scenes in cinematic history with regards to horror movies, watch Dagon. Spanish-made film. By the way, hot chick. You do get to see her boobs, so that's a bonus. Actually, in one of the lead roles. And I won't give any spoilers. The acting is fairly standard fare for maybe a B movie sort of budget, but extremely good plot line and exceptionally goddamn gory. Latin Hero 1818. Are You Afraid of the Dark still holds up for lots of episodes. Remember that series? Yes, I watched, I think, every episode back in the day. Sancocho 1718. Nothing scarier than being a Clinton confidant. Yeah, you never know when you're going to kill yourself. Lord of the Ree. I named my cat after H.P. Lovecraft's. Clank. Yes, I know what H.P. Lovecraft's cat was named. I get the reference. What the fuck? A specter appeared before me last night. I couldn't believe it was real. It was transparent. It had a message for us. It said, I grew up in a middle-class family. Lol. Oh, Based Acid Fox. Yeah, 1900 book by Ingersoll Lockwood. Yeah, I edited that back in the day, and I was like, okay, the Secretary of State's name is Pence. This is the same author that wrote The Marvelous Adventures of Little Baron Trump. Yeah, there's no memetics here. Everything is a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, not when they're that sheer, by the way. Steve D. Martin, The Doom That Came to Sarnath is my favorite spooky Lovecraft. If I wanted to play a spooky video game, I'd crank up Hexen. You know that old N64 game? It was based on Doom, basically. Heavily pixelated. At times, goddamn insane, by the way. That was a difficult game. I mean, if you use God mode, not. But Sigilstone, you should listen to the Exploring series on YouTube. He's also on Spotify. He usually does SCP stuff, but he has audiobooks of The Mountain of Madness, Herbert West, and Just Did the Thing on the Doorstep. Yeah, Mountains of Madness is one of my favorites because H.P. Lovecraft early on, he was very bleak with very, very little, if any, actual conversation in his works. It was very editorial. And honestly, I like that better than his latter works. Sigilstone, Hexen is on Steam. Well, you can also get an emulator and play it there. I liked that game as a kid. It was very, very brutal. It was pixelated, so the gore wasn't exactly believable. But, anytime you got 30 or 40 enemies laying dead before you with their guts hanging out, it was pretty fun as a kid. And boy, oh boy, at times it could be really easy, but at times it could be massively hard. Then I noticed when you get to the last level with Korath, I think it was, or Korax actually, sometimes he would glitch out and he would just stand there and he would slowly, like every few seconds, he would turn around in a different direction, sometimes facing you. And once in a blue moon, he'd attack you, but otherwise he was stuck to the floor. And I never really understood that. So it was easy to kill him if that happened, especially if you were the cleric. If you're playing Hexen, early on in the game, the warrior is the easiest because your enemies don't really generally have ranged attacks anyway, so you can just punch them out. And the mage is okay because you can stand back and just hit them with darts and, just sort of evade them. And the cleric was the hardest early on in the game and remained fairly difficult even in mid-game. But towards the end of the game, you get what's called Wraith Verge, which is a magical staff that fires a bolt that spawns ghosts, and they rip your opponent's soul apart. And although it took the most mana, which is like the magical charge in the game, it was easily the most powerful. And so you could fire off a volley of that at Korax, go get more mana, fire off another volley. By the time the other enemies behind you are pouring out of the gates, you know, to distract you, he's half dead. And so it became, towards the end, it was more easy if you use the cleric. It's just that early on, you have this shitty mace, and you have to pound the enemy over and over in order to get rid of them. Yeah, the mage with ranged and the warrior with much higher armor and strength were a lot easier until you hit late game. Chuy Fernandez, your favorite scary movie? For dedicated horror, Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp. For horror overlap with 10 other fucking genres in it, I'd say Brotherhood of the Wolf. By the way, please send no more super chats here. I'll get to a couple more occult topics. I think I'll cut it off at an hour 30 instead of 2 hours. I'm going to have a little bit of a lazy day. I'm lazy by my standards because it's Halloween. God, I got to do Halloweeny stuff. Meisner Flux, Lovecraft's Fungi from Yugoth is an epic ballad of poetry and eeriness. Ideally, listen to the old version from the 70s with cool synth and top narration. Same with Mountains of Madness. R. Scott. Robert E. Howard has some other than Conan stories that are amazing. Conan. To see your enemies driven before you. Rosemary Woodhouse. Have you heard of the Italian horror director Lucio Fulci? Some of the goriest films I've seen. The Beyond is one of the best. Lots of eyeball mutilation. Yikes. Italian films tend to be cracked up. Like, what was the name of that fucking movie? I've got one Italian horror movie here. Just a sec. Let me get it. What was it called? Terror Creatures from Beyond the Grave. It's from 1964. It's an Italian horror movie. Italian horror movies, especially the old ones, very suggestive and or outright explicit. And a lot of weird fucking shit in there. Because the sort of censorship you have in more Western audiences, it didn't really apply to the Italian horror movies. Tomes Esquire, please look up Matt Lawler versus Mondaire Jones house race. National implications. Need to keep the socialist out. Please just cover it really briefly. Okay, Matt Lawler. All right, I'll put that in the docket and I'll take a look at it. Let's see. Forestry. Thanks, Sticks. You're darn good at what you do and often weeks in advance of everyone else. You mean like with the lockdownerism? Yeah, many such cases. I try my best. But yeah, today is Halloween, so we get some spooky stuff. Less interested in politics, just for one day. Like, mostly my fare is politics and current events. I just wanted to take a day off to talk about the champ monster and stuff like that. By the way, getting to Loch Ness, I do not believe that there's anything particular in Loch Ness. I think that that's misidentification. Here's a fish. It's larger than the average fish, and so people think it's a sea monster's hump. Here's a log. It looks vaguely like a sea monster. They've been monitoring that lake, including with live streams now, for decades. They haven't seen anything. There's nothing in Loch Ness. It's too small of a lake to have anything particularly large in it anyway. With Champlain, I think it's mainly people seeing sturgeons, which do provably exist in the lake. It's possible that a sea sturgeon population intermixed with the lake sturgeons, making a larger hybrid of some sort. We don't have proof of this, but it's possible. There's also the possibility of pilot whales. There have been sounds that have been recorded from the lake that appear commensurate with some sort of cetacean species. It's possible, and it's much larger, much like Loch Ness was connected to the ocean. But we've got plenty of weird cryptids that have been proven to exist as well now, don't we? The coelacanth. Up until a few decades ago, the coelacanth was considered a fossil. It was mythological that sailors were bringing them up occasionally in their nets. We now know that they are actually real off the coast of Australia. Speaking of Australia, the kangaroo. When Australia was first searched by the British and people first start bringing back reports, there's this large kind of mousy rabbit-looking creature that kicks really hard and kills people and carries its young around in a pouch on its stomach. People at the time thought it was ludicrous. Like, oh, again, these people, they landed ashore, they immediately spliced the main brace, so to speak. They got drunk, and now they're seeing weird shit. You know, maybe we should go and send a relief column or something. Well, it turns out that's true. We've got numerous examples of this within biology. But then we've also got examples where something particularly fantastic is posited and you never get evidence of it despite centuries of searching. I have a feeling that with Champ, it's mostly a hybrid sea and lake sturgeon. So it's larger than a lake sturgeon, large enough to pass for, if a couple of them are side by side, large enough to, basically look like a sea serpent. So it's a totally normal creature. It's not mythological, but it is out of place. It is unique in form with the possibility of other creatures. Ogopogo, I think, mainly follows the same line. It could be, in fact, the same hybridized species or something like that. People don't realize when they go to Lake Champlain, they come to Vermont and they're like, oh, how idyllic. The North Woods, everything, even the bears are basically like Yogi. They wouldn't hurt a fly. You realize that when you're swimming in that lake, there are 5-foot-long muskies in there with jagged teeth that will absolutely rip a chunk the size of a tangerine out of your leg if they're hungry. They don't realize that they're even there. Or northern pike. You realize how big those bastards can get? They've got one over at the Echo Museum in Burlington itself. Go and see the size of the preserved northern pike that they've got and tell me that they can't do some damage to your toes. So yeah, I think I do believe in some cryptids. Like, for instance, I believe in ghosts as remnant energy, not as spirits. I believe there are extraterrestrials out there, but I don't believe they're visiting Earth. I believe that there are anomalous creatures, sometimes of large size, sometimes more reclusive, like maybe a Bigfoot, Gigantopithecus offshoot or something that potentially exist. But they're not mythological creatures. With regards to cryptids, I take up more of a biological approach. I believe in magic. I believe in the occult. I believe in the spiritual. That doesn't extend to me declaring that every biological species has some magical property. While I wish this were a Harry Potter world where I could grow a bunch of herbs, make potions, and then grow 20 feet tall or disappear or something, that's not the established reality that we have. Tasmanaut, The Exorcist, and The Babadook are the two films that genuinely frightened me and left an impact. I like The Exorcist. It didn't frighten me. I just thought it was a fun film. I've never seen The Babadook. Hey Sticks, what are your thoughts on the Xena Shrek interview by Jordan Peterson? I had meant to see that, but never actually did, come to think of it. So yeah, we got all sorts of crazy shit in the world, but even if we completely suspend our spiritual beliefs, or any occult beliefs, or any beliefs in what we would conceive of generally as the supernatural, we're still left with a world with all sorts of unexplained phenomena in it. We're only scratching the surface, for example, with regards to mycological research, mushrooms and fungi and things like that. We're only scratching the surface. We have not documented all the animals, plants, and so forth in the world. We haven't documented half of them. There is a lot to learn and potentially a lot of applications from those species too. We could discover a frog tomorrow that excretes some sort of chemical that can be synthesized that can destroy cancer cells and leave every other cell alone. That's entirely possible. It's a fascinating world. Even if you don't believe in anything spiritual, religious, theism, anything like that, you're a total atheist, you completely expunge the concept of spirituality entirely. Still a fascinating world. So one I'm happy to live in at the moment. Sigilstone, have you seen the cryptid known as My Dad? He's usually sighted near the liquor store or gas station. The local court says they've organized a search for him using something called bench warrants. Linux Debian, do you believe in the astral planes and shit like that? To an extent. Having had lucid dreams and bizarre experiences in the nocturnal state, there is something mentally beyond, I suppose. I don't know if it's like an actual plane, but there's something weird going on there because I've experienced it myself. So I just don't exactly claim to know exactly what it is. 412 Vido, at our woods home, my brothers and I have seen orbs following the wood, knocking, hissing, and distant instruments such as drums. Jungi spirits? Thoughts? Could be people trolling you. Could be insects. But yeah, I mean, it could be something occult. I don't know. I'd have to experience it for myself. I've seen some weird shit out in the woods myself, so trust me, I'm not denigrating you for what you've witnessed. I think that these sightings, by the way, I'll close with this. I think that sightings of things that would generally be considered spiritual, paranormal, occult, etc., are much, much more common than people believe. I think that the average person, though, perceives that they will be perceived of as nuts by talking about them, and so they don't talk about them, except maybe in their inner circle. And when you do talk about an inner circle, you probably get called crazy anyway. Like most people in my inner circle do not believe some of the things that I've told them. That's perfectly fine, but at the same time, it's real. I can't prove it because I can't go back in time and drag somebody who's skeptical along to see the same experience, but I do know what I've seen. I prefer to keep an open mind on such things. Send your faces. Christmas starts tomorrow, my little snowflake. No, it starts the day after Thanksgiving. It's turkey time up till then. Trust me, I am eagerly awaiting that nice turkey. I think I'll make the squash this year myself. I mean, I've got plenty of it. I also got this one from the garden. Looks pretty good. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't look pretty good. Aw. Well, that fucking sucks. I didn't even notice that. Well, I guess I'm not eating that one. Sorry, dude. I'll get some seeds from it. Although, actually, it might have hybridized with these other ones. I wonder what a butternut squash crossed with a Turk's turban would look like. We're going to experiment next year, I guarantee you. That's what I'm talking about. Random hybridization. I created an award-winning squash. It looks like shit, but it tastes like win. Suckers suck harder. Sigil, suck dog dick. Yeah, Vaush, he's got some problems. We can mention him on a Halloween live stream because, you know, he looks like an extra from a horror movie. He's either the fat dude that he's the first one that wanders off into the woods and gets dragged into the cave, or he's the dude that's actually secretly the serial killer or something. That's Vaush in a nutshell. Somebody should tell him that. That'd be funny. Yeah, Christmas does not start until after Thanksgiving. That is the law. Basically, all of October is Halloween. Then you get Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's over. Then you can put up your Christmas lights. I used to say not until December, but I'll give you a little bit of leeway for a few days before that after Thanksgiving in November. I'll accept that. I'll tolerate it. But I'll only tolerate it. Anyways, I think I'm going to go offline now. I've got a few other things I want to do and watch Hocus Pocus later. So please send no more super chats here. Just making sure if there's anything left to talk about. No. All right, so I'll be back tomorrow with my normal live stream. That'll have politics, of course. I just wanted to take an afternoon off from it, not have to talk about politics the whole fucking day, because it gets a little bit old. Like after the election, 2 days, maybe 3, we'll be doing the election autopsy and the fallout from that. Beyond that, though, for a while, I would like to refocus on my editing, my occult works, number one, and re-editing some of my own, as well as talking about some scientific articles and stuff like that. I don't want to just do politics because I do have actually other interests. So yeah, I'll be dressing as myself for Halloween, as usual. It's the one day of the year that I look normal. That's about all. Peace out.